We've reported on how road construction has impacted businesses along Central Avenue in Minot. After several days of rain, they're now navigating standing water. Lindsay Miller headed downtown to learn more.
Flower Central is one of many businesses that has an alternate route due to recent road construction with the flood project. Now the flower shop is facing standing water due to recent rain. Owner Nikki Brose says standing water started to form following last Monday night's rain. She says crews with Park Construction were pumping water out the following morning. Brose says the on and off rain over this past week has created challenges for the construction company. She adds the ground is so saturated the water has nowhere to drain.
Frustrating, but it's equally as frustrating to the construction company because it's not like they want to delay it.
She explains part of the construction project is putting in new infrastructure, and although there is a new storm drain, it is covered so that mud and other debris from the site can't plug it up.
That's how high up it came.
Brose says she's fortunate that the rain isn't driving away customers and she hasn't experienced any water damage to her property. Brose says the construction company expects a roughly 4-day delay as they've had to pause to pump out water. In downtown Minot, I'm Lindsay Miller, reporting for your news leader.
Now, crews were able to pump out more water from Central Avenue around the shop later today.